Hey guys, Renaissance here. I just wanted to do a short intro to this video, um, which I've been editing for like 8 days now. Um, I shot this video last Sunday, and in the week of me doing all of this editing, so much has happened with the death of George Floyd. And I will talk more on that later in another video at another time. But I just wanted to add this intro um, because it is very prevalent. Everything that's going on is very prevalent to what is being said in this video. Okay, so God bless, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Today I'm talking about the global pandemic 2020. I spent about 2 weeks organizing and outlining for this video, and it is in 4 parts. I am sharing a few visions that I've had. I will be sharing a dream that I've had, a couple of stories, and I will be sharing what I believe or what I feel like I've seen in my dreams and intuitively as these past 2 months have gone by, what I believe is happening. I'm just putting things out there um, for you to just put some thought into it. So let me first start with phase one. And it begins with a story. And this story is about understanding what spirituality actually is. And it basically begins when I woke up one morning and the very first post that was like right there in front of my face was this t-shirt giveaway. And as I was reading through the instructions on how to like enter the giveaway, it led me to another gram. And the gram had to do with spirituality. And when I look at the comment section, there was about over 500 comments about what people thought spirituality was. I was just compelled to read every last comment. There was about 3 people that were like, I really would love to know what it is actually. I felt compelled to reply to them. I have a very clear understanding of what spirituality is and what being human is based on an experience I had when I was a toddler. This young girl, she was 15 years old. She DM'd me right away. She said that a couple of days before our dialogue, she had this experience where she felt like she was outside of herself. She said she felt as if her memories were not her memories, where she was like looking and standing and observing, and she didn't feel like she was within herself. So I told her this story about when I was a toddler, and I was about 4 years old, and every single morning I would like wake up. I had the same routine. My bed was like right here, window was right here. I can always feel the sunlight coming into the window. I always had to like potty in the morning, and I would get up, go, make a left, cross the bed, and go to the bathroom. This particular morning, I could feel the sunlight on my face. I woke up, same as I always do, and I was going to the bathroom, same as I always did. But for some reason, my body was not going to the bathroom. The part of us that is living and functional, separated from me, and I could literally see myself like inside of a realm that was not the realm of reality in which I'm sitting here right now. And I literally saw myself get up, like out of my shell, feet across the bed, walk around the bed. But before I can get to the restroom, I've like heard, or like really heard, or the only way I can describe it is like a suction sound. It was like shh. And then I became conscious in this realm that I'm sitting in right now. The crazy part is that when I saw myself, I personally, like my physical body could not move. Like I was completely paralyzed. And I know that people would be like, oh, that's sleep paralysis, or that's this, or that's that, or, you know, everyone, like I have experienced various things in the dream world or supernatural world that has been different from this one experience I've ever had. So I basically told this to her, and when I became more of an adult, I understood that we have a shell, an earthly shell, which is like the skin and our earthly function of our organs and our heartbeat and everything. And then we have a soul, which is life, that allows us to have motor skills and things like that. Then, and that soul is singular. Then we have the ability to house spirits, and more than one spirit at a time. Those spirits, or I usually call them fruits, fall in two columns, two categories. And you will see in just a little bit, I will talk about duality, how duality is what we're derived from and what we're made of. So I explained this to her. I said, you probably have a sixth sense. I said, well, do you dream? She said, but I remember this dream I had when I was really, really little. It was two men, and I was outside. I don't know what they were talking about, but I knew the one on the left was Jesus. And I said, wow. I said, that's amazing. So I pretty much just gave her the advice that someone who was a spiritual mentor to me many years ago gave me. And that was to pretty much, you have dreams, write your dreams down. Always have a notebook, always have a journal. And that dream in particular, I told her to write it down and keep it very near to her. That was the first and the last time I ever talked to that 15-year-old girl. She said what I said to her was very helpful, and she thanked me. And if that was my part to do, that was my part to do. When I finally got up out of bed and was just getting ready for the day, I understood that not many people know or really understand the idea of spirituality, which is outside of organized religion and buildings and things like that. And they don't really understand the duality of the earthly realm and the spirit realm. And what's happening right now in the global pandemic has everything to do with the spirit realm, the supernatural realm, and the earthly realm as well. So, let me see. I have some notes here. I just basically put in conclusion, I believe this was a divine assignment. I was glad I could be a vehicle in which she could get some of her inquiries answered. You know, anyone could easily blow off anything that anyone says. But I believe that truth and lies are felt, they resonate. And the reason why I believe that they resonate is because there is a universal truth that is more supernatural than it is natural, that resonates with the type of fruits that we carry. And I'm going to get into that next. So, for those really in tune, you know when someone is telling the truth or lying. This is going to be very essential to the COVID portion of this video. People who know they can lie to someone's face without them ever being aware is a sign of the person being lied to having low spiritual awareness, low to no discernment or intuition. Some of you are like that 15-year-old girl. You could be 28, you could be 80, you could be 32, and you have lived your whole lives having these unexplainable experiences and have had no one to pose the questions to or help with your enlightenment. You have swept things in the closet because you are afraid, or you don't understand, or you're knowingly running from your inner spirituality. Some people are, they just are. Some people just don't know. Some people just can't explain the things that they experience, or they don't have anyone to explain to them. I also explained to the little lady that anyone could be chosen. You could come from a household that is not religious or not faith based. That choosing has a lot to do with purity of heart, and purity of intentions, and knowing that God can trust that person that He chooses. Let me move to phase two. Okay. It begins with understanding that there are two realms here. Mostly everything is duality. Okay. There's the earthly realm, there's the supernatural or spirit realm. Okay. In order for the human person, the human being, to survive on this planet, we need an earthly suit. And that earthly suit is the one that I am encased in. Okay? Then we have a soul. The soul is equal to the living breath of life. Then we have spirits. Spirits come and go. I call these spirits traits, and they can be um, spiritual or fleshly. And this will come from Galatians, which I will share in just a second. So, two lists of traits, two parts of our human being: human, carnality; being, spirituality. Or we are both carnal and both divine. We have both a carnality and a divinity. And you will see how I tie this into the whole COVID situation that's going on right now. So there are a couple of references. I had to glue on Holy Bible in in my little crystals. Let me give a reference, which is Romans 8. Okay. So in verse 5, it says, "For they that are after the flesh do mind the things of the flesh." And it says, "But they that are after the Spirit, the things of the Spirit." Those who are thinking on spiritual things, praying, feeding their spirituality and not their carnality, focused on peace, meditation, things like that. And this just goes on to say, what we don't want to do, we do. That is the fight. Okay. And I think that thing that we want to do, we don't do. That thing that we do, we wish we hadn't done it. This is the war within. So even when the Bible says that we are born into sin, we are born into flesh, one of the first lessons that a toddler learns is the lesson of sharing. What people need to understand is that we are born into worldliness. We're born into a sinful nature. We are born into self. Because the little child, the little toddler that's like, mine, 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 and the first lesson is you need to learn how to share. That is what we're born into. We're born into me, into meanness, into self, okay? Into selfishness. Every day is a working towards filling ourselves with the fruits of the spirits and subtracting the fruits of the flesh. Okay, my next reference is Genesis 2:7. This is very simple. This is basically about humans have a soul. That's it. In 2:7, it says, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." That's it. So we are a living soul. Okay, we're a living soul. That's it. Here's Galatians 5. Okay. All of Galatians 5 is like really, really good. But okay, so basically in verse 16, they're saying, "This I say then, walk in the Spirit, and walk in the Spirit, and ye shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another." What is contrary? Listen, they're complete opposites of the spectrum. Spirit and flesh. Duality. This is the war within. We war within ourselves all the time. That's one war. And then think about the secondary war that's outside of us, in our workplace, in our schools, in our environments, in politics, in government. So there's war all over the place. But the first war starts within. And so here it says, "But if you be led of the Spirit, you are not under the law." Again, I'm just only giving you just a surface of reference to what I'm saying. These things have to be like fully researched and with concordances, and I have this huge unabridged dictionary and all this stuff. So I'm covering a lot. So now it's telling you, now the works of the flesh are manifest, which are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revelings, and such alike. Of the which I tell you before, as I have also told you in the past, that which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of God. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. So in verse 25, it says, "If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. Let us not be desirous of vain glory, provoking one another, envying one another." Again, you guys, there's so much there. But the key point here is, let us live in the Spirit so that we walk in the Spirit. And you want to know why that's so important? Because people who say they are believers and are Christians or whatever, this is the first group I'm talking about, should be doing this. Also, you don't have to be a believer or proclaim anything to have strong discernment, strong intuition, to have strong notions about what is going on in the world today. That has nothing to do with organized religion whatsoever. We have to learn to be very obedient to our spiritual nature. And that spiritual nature has everything to do with the spiritual fruits. Okay, you can be obedient to a fleshly nature, but it's contrary to a spiritual nature. Okay, and it's needed right now. Please let me make sure that I summarize here what's happening right now in the world. We need more people to be spiritually discerning. Your spiritual fruits need to be up big time. This is not a time to be in the flesh, because the war is not only in the flesh. The Bible says that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but of principality and spiritual wickedness in high places. Okay, y'all, spiritual wickedness in high places, in high places, in high places. Okay, I'm gonna get to that. Do you hear me? So, bullet point: the war within. That's automatic as a human. We have duality, divinity, carnality. Breath of life equals the human soul. We house diverse spirits or fruits. They can either be spiritual or either be fleshly. Okay? Depending on what you house will make all the difference on what your faith is, what you believe, and what your perceptions of the world is. Okay? We are automatically contrary to ourselves. Period. Okay? Now, part of growing and living as a human is to better ourselves. And in bettering ourselves, our work every day is trying to subtract fleshly fruits, the weighing scale. You know, that little thing you put more grapes on this side and it gets heavier, or you take some and you put it on that side. That's what it is. It's the weights and the deposits of fleshly and our spiritual fruits that we're trying to grow as better people. Okay, you are a fruit bowl. What does your fruit look like? Phase 3, we are going to get into dreams and visions. Now we're slowly moving into this COVID situation. Okay, listen, guys. It was probably like within the week, because the mandate went down like March 18th. And it may have been just like maybe 2 or 3 days before that, but it was within the week of the world shutting down that I had a dream. Okay? Now, I've always been a dreamer since I was a kid, and I have also had visions. And those visions have spanned over time. The vision one has to do with numbers. Only 2 sets of numbers that I've been seeing, and an increase in seeing those numbers, and certain things that I've seen with angels, and oh yes, and certain things that I've seen with humanity. Okay, so let me explain. So I had a dream that I was in a car. I was not driving. Someone was driving, and I always have driving dreams. Anyone who is watching this that is a dreamer knows what I'm talking about. And I'll give you just general knowledge about cars and driving, sometimes on freeways and random neighborhoods. The car represents the life, the driving is the journey. Sometimes when there's traffic, that represents stagnation or standstills or obstacles, a slowing process in life. Driving in the daytime, driving at night. So I've always had dreams of driving. This was the first time I've ever had a dream that people were driving in the dark on this beautiful wide street with trees that arched up on each side, pitch black. People were driving with no headlights on. First time ever in my life. No headlights. And I have a play uncle who's a theologian. We would just like talk, we were just talking. And oftentimes illuminations come, revelations come, or interpretations come when you're in conversation with people and you're sort of like bouncing off and you're saying, oh, I had this dream, and then they're talking and you're talking. And then it clicked. People were driving with no headlights. And I realized like 2 or 3 days later, after the mandate happened, the first week of the mandate, I was like, this is it. It was a dark time. And what was crazy was that there was a car behind the car I was in that had their headlights on. And then there was another car coming in the opposite direction that had a headlight on. I can only recall like maybe 2. But what was crazy, and for those that dream, what was crazy is that, you have to like gauge what you are feeling in the dream. Now, I was in the passenger seat. I was like scared as hell. First of all, I was like scared, And then I was like, what the hell is going on? That was the main foundational emotion that I was feeling when I was in this passenger seat, and when I saw people driving in the pitch dark, no street lamps, no street lamps. I was like, what the hell? Sorry, excuse me, you guys. The person that was driving had this little gun, had this gun. It was a weapon. Had this gun. And they were holding a gun in their left hand. And I know that this person is not left-handed, and backwards. The person that was behind us with the headlight on, they were trying to shoot the person behind us, because for some reason in this dream, it seemed as though that if your headlights were on, you were the one that was outside of the norm, that you wasn't supposed to have your headlights on. The thing was that everybody have their headlights off, period. And what was crazy is that the people that I saw with their headlights on gave me some kind of like indication that there was some normalcy, but that it was just all strange. And then so we're just going, and we finally get to this intersection, and it was still nighttime, where we were emerging into this normalcy, where the street lights, the traffic lights were actually on and normal. We both got out of the car. We were actually going to this thing. There's people walking across the street, like couples, and things seemed to like at the when we got to this intersection, I felt like, well, I could breathe. Like things like felt normal again, but it was still at night, right? We were going to this venue, and everything at the end of this dream seemed to place an emphasis on music, artists, spoken word artists, poets, musicians, singers. And we went inside of this place, and there were like stages everywhere. Like this, it seemed like this event was about to take place. And someone that I know who works in music or with artists saw me in the dream and stopped me. And we started having this very like happy, amicable conversation. And then I woke up. I wasn't really sure about the end of the dream, but as I was doing my outline, like things started coming clear to me, and I was praying and I was asking God. I said, what about the end of my dream? And God started showing me, this is a dark period. This is a great evil that has taken place. I promise you. Going through a dark period. Okay? I need you guys to listen. The darkness seemed to hate the light. Look, sun is moving over. Can you even see me? I need you guys to listen. When I was talking to my play uncle, it was clear. People. People. Are your headlights on? Headlights. Are your headlights on? I need you to look in the mirror, and I need you to ask yourself, because that was the revelation that I got. There's other biblical references, like in one, when the officials came for Jesus, the politicians and the officials and the soldiers came for him in that hour, and Judas kissed him on the cheek to let them know who was Jesus. Peter raised his sword, cut the guy's ear off. Jesus was like, hold up. He was like, my hour has come. He was like, my Father has prepared the cup for me. Am I not to drink of it? He was like, put your sword down. This is what is supposed to happen. In this dream, I understood, and it will be revealed whose headlights are on and whose headlights are off. There are people who are in the dark and they just don't get it. And they're navigating through this COVID situation with their headlights off, and they don't even know what's going on in the spirit realm. Okay? What you think is evil is the opposite of that, and what you think is good is the opposite of that. And people are literally going off in the mind and going off in the mouth saying all kind of stuff, and they don't even know what's going on because they're not discerning what is going on. Let me make sure I got this right. A weapon was formed. I need you to listen. A weapon was formed, but it was ineffective. The weapon is ineffective because not even handling the weapon right, not even having the proper aim, trying to kill the light, trying to take out the light. Hello, you guys. Do you understand what I'm saying? This street was very wide. Where did I put that reference? I put Matthew 7, 13, and 14. Oh, yes. So in 13, in Matthew, this is chapter 7, 13. Enter you in at the straight gate. For wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in there. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way which leads unto life, and few there be that find it. Few find it. This street was wide and beautiful and dark. And it just seemed like there was more people with headlights out than there was with people with their headlights on. Let me explain a few of the visions, okay? I would say this. There's a number that I've always seen. This number I've seen since about maybe 2000, I'm going to say maybe 12 or 13. I never saw this number ever before until I dreamed about it one night. Once I dreamed about it the first time, I never stopped seeing this number. It's always the first looking. Like when you look at a number for the first time in that second, it's always that number. So about a year and a half ago, I started seeing the set of these two numbers all the time. Literally, like it was so frequent that it was just utterly like ridiculous. And I was just asking God, I said, okay, I need you to show me. Okay. And I saw two visions. Okay. Listen. Now there's always war, but I literally saw the angels rise up. Like, I wish I could like demonstrate for you, but I saw the angels like rise up like this to prepare with their weapons, with weapons of war to prepare. Because see, Ecclesiastes tells us there's a time for peace, there's a time for war, there's a time to laugh, a time to cry. So, not to say that the angels and demons too are not always like at war, but there is a time, and I saw, and the way that visions like play in my mind, they're like a tape, like they keep rotating and playing over and over and over and over and over again. And I kept seeing the angels rise up like this with weapons of war, getting ready for something. Okay? The massive size of the angels were beyond human imagining. And I saw them rise up. And the Comforter, the Holy Spirit who teaches all things, showed me this is a war, both in the natural and in the spirit realm. This is a war. There's a war taking place. The angels and the demons, listen, good and light, evil and darkness. Okay? I saw, and I always see it. I always see it. I saw them lift up like this with weapons of war to prepare for a time such as this. Okay? My other vision, you humanoids, people, listen, we're going to get into that too. I'm going to tell you right now. The most problematic of them all is the humanoid. I saw massive peoples split into two all over the globe. A sea of people splitting like the Red Sea. One side. What is war? On one side, you go have the one side and their allies. On the other side, you go have that side and their allies. War has to do with two entities that are pitted against each other. Okay, pitted against each other. I'm gonna have to move again. Pitted against each other to fight and war against each other. Let me explain what this time is. This is a time of revealing and a time of decision making. I really need y'all to listen because the humanoid is the most problematic. I saw people split because listen, whoo, I am being quickened. I told myself I would not cry. I will not cry. I won't do it. People, I need you to listen. There is no more living like a maybe. There is no more living lukewarm. There is no more straddling the fence. When those men came for Jesus, he said, "The Lord prepare my cup, shall I not drink?" He said, "My hour has come." Anytime he was like letting them know, he said, "My time has come when the Son of Man shall go and be glorified." Listen, this is just the beginning of a new hour of the end times. It is a time of revealing and a time of decision making. You must choose. You must choose. You're either going to choose light or you're going to choose dark. You're either going to choose to be the life with headlights or you're going to choose to be the life with no headlights. You're going to choose to put yourself in the dark, to stay in the dark, to live in the dark, to be unknowing, to be undiscerning, unintuitive. I don't know if that's a word, but whatever. I'll make up words about what is really going on. And there's war in the spirit, and there's war within the earth, and it is happening. And they're pitted against each other. Guess who will make all the difference? Is you. But you can't make all the difference if your headlights are not on. You cannot be the difference if your headlights are not on. I'm so serious. I cannot stress this enough. I cannot stress it enough. The time is now to choose, and you cannot be afraid. You cannot be afraid to choose the light. People are afraid of the light. People are afraid of what they don't know. You cannot be afraid. But you know what's crazy though? Per my vision, everybody ain't gonna choose the light. You want to know why? Because there was masses of people on both sides. Masses of people on both sides. And I tell you, I saw a split. People are choosing sides. I saw a split, literally like a parade, with people, masses of people on one side and masses of people on the other side. A parting like the Red Sea. Hold on. It's crazy that when the mandate started, I saw spiritual viruses on people. Not only is this a so-called virus, this is an expose of people with spiritual viruses too. I cannot stress that enough. This is what this is, and this is the first hour. This is a great evil that has taken place. And if you do not turn your headlights on, if you don't do it, I keep saying it. I'm trying to move on. I keep saying it. If you don't turn your headlights on, it is doomed for everyone. But let me say this, though. I'm going to say this, per my dream. We're going to emerge out of this okay. And again, we're going to emerge out of this okay. It won't be the same normalcy, of course, as before all of this. That's not expected. I felt like whatever it was before I woke up had so much to do with like music, art, and entertainment and creative, artistic expression. But that was almost immediately as soon as the mandate went in, right? Like people literally took to Instagram Live. What have like musicians been doing for us during this time? Many stages, music, musicians, spoken word, everywhere. What have the creative arts been doing for us in this time of quarantine? So what I did was I did a comparable list of worldly behavior, worldly nature, worldly thought processes in comparison to godly behavior, godly nature, and godly thought processes. Okay? So let's think, people. Let's look at this list. It's long. Worldly mindset, godly mindset. Listen, worldly mindset, panic, fear, carnality, filled with fleshly fruits. We already talked about this. This is why I set it up this way, so that you guys can understand what it is from the beginning till now. Following the crowd, lashing out on social media, not having discernment or strong intuition, not doing your own research, spiritually naive, gullible, trying to think rational and logical, believing fake news, commercial media, mass media. Listen, if you don't know by now, I'm going to tell you right now. See, I learned from Michael back in the day because I saw him. He was one of the first artists to really come out in front to let us know not to believe the news, that the mass media was not it. Because those of us that grew up on ABC7, CBS, KTLA, Fox 11, all this stuff, we held the news stations and the news report in high esteem. We believed every single thing that they said. But I noticed over the years how CNN has changed. CNN used to be the most reliable source of news. That and BBC World News and all this stuff. They have changed. They are the liaison between those who control them and the people. And their job is to use words, political science 1, keywords, key phrases, word things a certain way for you to perceive someone or a story a certain way to try and sway your opinion about someone, a thing, or a situation. News has turned into soundbite news. How can you trust that? You cannot trust that at all. And even some independent media outlets are also playing that role too. They're showing biases. Again, truth and lies are felt. You can intuitively discern what is truth and what is not. And when you discern those little nuggets of truth, it's for you to take those nuggets of truth and to piece it all together yourself. Being in denial not wanting to accept interchange. I mean, there's just so much. What else do I have here? I know people that enjoy the rat race. All they want is to go to their cubicle, get that bag, go home, watch Netflix, smash their girl or ride their dude, hang out with their coworkers at happy hour, and that's their life, and they good. And those are the people that's bored. Because you know why you're bored? You haven't taken the time, or you have ignored your inner passions, your inner spirit. You have ignored those things that you really enjoy. There's some people who literally just only want to go with the crowd in this life. They don't want to just be themselves. And those people, they Netflixed out, they sexed out, they don't know what else to do. This is the perfect opportunity for you to connect with that little girl, that little boy inside of you, to connect with your inner spirit, to connect with a passion. Painting. Listen, I've been crocheting. Look, I've been crocheting masks. Don't you know the Lord will take care of his people? I have been crocheting masks like I don't know what. From the sale of these every week, a tithe, because I believe in a biblical principle of the tithe, has been donated to a local initiative to get the homeless fed, to get the women and children fed, to get frontliners fed. So I found usefulness. I needed something. And this was an accident. I made these for myself because I couldn't find any on the shelf. I went on my Instagram live for something totally different and showed these, and everybody was like, I want one. I've been crocheting like crazy. Let me tell you guys something about survival skills. I don't care what your industry is. I don't care what it is that you do. Every single person on this planet, male, female, boy or girl, need to know 3 things: sewing, knitting, and crocheting. As long as you can make something to keep you warm, a blanket, a sweater, hand sewing. I started off hand sewing, made full outfits when I was 12. These are survival skills, people. This is what this COVID crisis is showing you and is showing me. That some of y'all sitting at home, you can't make money. You sitting at home. You don't know what to do and you're at a loss because you have no skills. All the years I've been saying, like, the little girl needs to know how to sew on a button. Button fall off that she got from Forever 21, she take it to the Goodwill because, oh, it doesn't have a button. No. Okay, I'm shading right now. My phone is about to die. Godly mindset, stress relieving activity, meditation, prayer, whatever you believe, become practicing again. I'm not telling you to believe what I do, but don't be like I believe this, but I'm not practicing. No, it's time to get practicing. Meditate. Listen, get off the meat, get off the dairy. It's ruining. Listen, y'all, listen. You parents, listen, you lazy parents. I'm going to say this. I got to say this. I said in my other videos, and I'm not going to explain because I was an orphan. I'm an adult orphan. I was a child orphan. I was a ward of the court. But my father raised me. Let me tell you, buying them Uncrustables, and that's just an example, if that's what they called. But look, you open up a package and you give this to your kid run off. Oh yeah, but guess what? You know what some of my most memorable experiences are? When my dad taught me how to make a salad. My dad was a chef in the Navy for 9 years. He taught me how to make a salad when I was like 9 or something. Told me how to hold my hands like this with my thumb in so I didn't cut my thumb off. And chop and move the food and chop. When I was like 9, I never forgot that. He was in the Navy. He traveled around many places. He told me, you make sure you cut them pieces of lettuce small. He said, because white people don't like large pieces of food, large pieces of lettuce. What do you think the difference is between the tossed salad and the chopped salad? The chopped salad is more gourmet. It's more decadent. You don't have to open your mouth as wide. That's how high-end people eat. 9 years old. You think I ever forgot it? Never forgot it. Because you parents, you send your kids to school, they get school lunch, You put them on the tablet shuts them up, and they grow up and they have no memorable experiences because you can't go to the kitchen and take the bread and have fun cutting the crust off of the bread yourself if they don't like the crust, and teaching them how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich yourself. They will never forget it. I remember my father teaching me and saying, make sure you get the jelly all the way to the edges. Make sure you get the peanut butter all the way around evenly to the edges. Don't miss the edges. Never forgot it. Taught me how to make turkey necks, real spicy. How to make them spicy. I don't even eat that anymore, with cayenne pepper. And listen, I will never forget those things. You parents who are not used to having your children at home, y'all know what to do. My brother put a quote on Instagram. He said, for some of you, quarantine is turning you into the parents you always wanted to be. There are parents who wanted to spend more time with their kids, but they have to work 2 jobs. You know what I mean? And then some of you guys send your kids to school because you just want the time for yourself. You don't want to have to deal with them. Look, let me move on. You need to be building immunity. You need to have general knowledge of vaccines and how viruses work. Listen, y'all, this whole article, I'm going to put the link of the article that I read. Urology of Vermont. Urologists, they study the urinal tract. Our gut is our immunity, period. You guys, we have 3 levels of defense before viruses even reach the cellular level. And everybody running scared because I don't need to be a scientist to have general knowledge of how vaccines work and how viruses work. Vaccines, drugs, and pharmaceuticals literally are an imitation of natural process. Excuse me, but our body, the T cells and the B cells, they create interferon automatically. Why do you think the antibody test, which USC did, the first early testing was finding that people had antibodies? So when I say that the vaccines are an imitation of natural processes, because the vaccine is doing what your body already does. They just created it outside of your normal bodily function. Just like with this Moderna trial, the first phase of the trial, which I read about. 2-shot, 2-phase vaccine, plus the booster. The guy goes, yes, we've seen that the first phase, the antibodies are created. You get a booster shot. Most vaccines work that way because what happens, this is what he says, the vaccine causes immunity to fall to the level of the vaccine, and then that's why you need the booster shot, which is the shot to lift the immunity up again. Our body naturally does that. I know people who literally, during this quarantine that I talk to all the time, like on Instagram, who's like, you know what, I'm going to go without meat for a week. They're amazed at how they feel. And then they might go back and have like a hamburger, and then they notice how much of an effect that meat had on them this time around, and they didn't notice it before. Because when you take a break from something and then go back to it, that's when you become more aware of how it affects you. Start holding food providers accountable. There are companies who care about the end user, and there's companies who don't. Some of this stuff is just ridiculous. These national chains, listen, this is something else that I saw. One establishment will lose patrons, and others, more independent, will gain customers. You know what lines are for? It's for news and media and photographers and for history making, to make things seem they're more than what they need to be. Let me just tell you a story. I'm walking to the post office. I'm shipping some masks. I noticed that the Starbucks on the corner finally is open. This is one without a drive-through. I see bodies moving around in there, and I have to pass by the front door to go around to the post office. One of the workers, baristas, was standing at the door, had a table blocking the door, taking orders in front of the table. This lady walked up to the door and was like, I want to make an order, or I want to, order a coffee. She said, well, there's people before you. What they did was they set up the little parking spaces in front of the Starbucks with the little signs as if it was a drive through. You take your order by car, and when your order's ready, you could just get out your car and get it. They was not letting people inside of the actual restaurant. The lady looked at her when the lady was like, oh, there's like 6 people in front of you, ma'am. She was like, no thanks. And she went to her car and left. Guess what? I can walk 5 minutes past Starbucks to the local coffee cafe, which tastes better than Starbucks anyway. Long as I got my mask on, walk right in, order my drink, sit right there away from anybody because they're not even having people inside. And I can get something with oat milk, decaf, Mexican chocolate, mocha, my favorite, and a vegan donut, and be about my way. What is the difference between 2 coffee shops 5 minutes from each other? Because if the rules are going to be for all, they need to be for all and not for some. Literally, I can walk to Trader Joe's out my front door, and it take me 2 minutes to walk across the street to Trader Joe's. I drive to Mother's Market. Because guess what? They care more about the end user. You guys need to be standing your ground on stuff. You need to be paying attention. You need to want to be treated with respect as a human. We have intrinsic rights that are divine and spiritual that are our rights. I walk into Mother's Market, guess what? Ain't no line. They put a hand washing station out in front. Put on my mask. They greet me when I walk in. Hello, welcome. How are you? Oh, beautiful outfit. Guess what? That's where I'm going to be. This is what part of this COVID is showing you. This is part of the decision making that you need to make. Establishments you once patronized before is go switch you over to other places. But I encourage you. You don't have it so well, just trust. Trust and turn to God. Start with meditation. Start right there. Trust. Meditation is about trusting oneself. When you meditate, you're allowing the spirit to take over all of that fleshly noise. This is on the godly mindset column. Rest. Detox your body. Listen, you guys. My gym clothes, listen, I'm smaller now than when I was going to the gym simply because I have been sleeping and detoxing. Like 4 years as a college student, double associates and a certificate. Your girl was tired. I have been sleeping more than I could have imagined. I needed it. My body needed it. Support the makers in your community. Try to find someone who's making them out of fabric that can be washed and will last a long time. Those latex gloves, the non-reusable masks that get into the landfills. This is a time to learn about recycling. I'm learning about recycling in detail. One thing that this global pandemic has allowed me to do was discover where my tribes are. For the longest time, I've always had an issue with like finding my people, like my group people who really understand me, who I'm like not so different from, you know? And I was like, whoa, okay, plant based, vegan, vegetarian, environmental issues, environmental communities. And then I started looking up certain hashtags on Instagram. But nonetheless, I just wanted to connect with like minded individuals all the way around the board. This is very important. The watchmen are here. The messengers are watchmen. Watchmen are messengers. The earth angels, tribe of prophets, we're all here. You need to know who those people are. Because aside from looking at the news, the news shouldn't be the only thing that you have, that you're looking at. There are spiritual messengers here to warn the people. Okay? I was up in the mountains yesterday. Ezekiel. This is 33 of Ezekiel. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, speak to the children of your people, and say to them, when I bring the sword upon the land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman. Okay? If when he sees the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people, then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and take not the warning, if they heed not to the warning, and then when the sword comes and take that person away, the blood shall be on his own hands. And it goes on to say that if the watchman does not warn, so if the watchman sees the sword and don't say nothing, if he don't blow the trumpet, then the people won't be warned. They won't know. And then if the sword come and take people away, look, the blood is on the hand of the watchman, because he didn't do his job. He was appointed to do his job. He, she, whatever. So thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore thou shalt hear the word of my mouth and warn them for me. Maybe I could stop there. They're out here blowing the trumpets. But if you don't hear it, if you're not paying attention, then you're going to miss it. You must be walking in spirit and seeing with spiritual eyes to even know. Okay. I said that already. I learned that there are wars in high places against people in high places that have nothing to do with us. We are just suffering for someone else's agenda. So the fight is not even our own. Let me give you a quote by Neil deGrasse Tyson. I love him. So I was watching Star Talk. This is interesting. I love what it is that he said. So he said possibly that the next cold and flu season will actually be a bit easier because of our new habits. It negates another wave theory expected for fall. In his words, he said, this virus, he said, it's like an invader from space. Imagine if we did have an invader from space that threatened all of humanity. we would need a way for all of us to get together, put down our swords, put down brackets against each other, put down your differences, because in this moment, we are all the same. The tribalism that separates us, if we can't ever get rid of it, let's at least combine that tribalism to turn all of humans into one tribe to fight the one enemy. Humanoids, band together. For me, this is a practice run. Yo, that registered with me so much. But there is a lingering darkness. And this is why your headlights need to be on. From this point forward, you need to make a choice. He said a unified front to take out this foreign enemy. Then he said, we've lived our lives, and I'm paraphrasing this part, and I wrote it down. We've lived our lives thinking we are enemies towards each other, when we have one common enemy that hates us both. That one enemy only cares about money and fooling everyone into believing that there actually is no enemy. What the heck? What the heck? As long as we're fighting each other, then spiritual wickedness in high places can do what it does, because racism, tribalism is a distraction. It just is. Meat, dairy, plant-based. There is no more argument. I wrote this down. Listen, there is no more argument. If you're not background checking the people who put the food on your table, you need to start it right now. There's other reasons for not eating meat and dairy from these kinds of places. It's different if you have your own chickens laying their own eggs in your own yard. Okay? It's different if you're supporting a place with ethical practices where cows are actually grazing the land and eating corn, because people still don't know that the reason why the Amazon is being burned football fields at a time, you're growing corn to feed cows corn and to grow the corn to make ethanol, and cows don't eat corn. They graze on grass. The Amazon, I'm thinking of 30%, maybe last time I checked, 20 to 30%. There's a reason why the Amazon is there, because it accounts between 20 and 30% of the oxygen of the whole earth. So when you cut that down and you're not replanting trees and you're clearing so much land, that's a problem. So the earth in itself becomes diseased because the ecosystem is tainted and tampered with. We all have been socialized and conditioned from very young that what is on the commercial, what's advertised to us, is what we buy. What's put in the store, in the national chains, what's put on the shelf is what we buy. Whatever is given to us is what we buy, and we never question it. It is time to choose a godly mindset. It is time for a spirit reconnection. It is time to get on one accord as one human race. As Neil said, as long as we are fighting and bickering amongst each other, we remain distracted from what the real enemy is doing. I promise you, God is trying to get the human race on one accord. Encourage others, check in on them. This is our human connection, our soul connection. Yes, we can laugh through this with memes and jokes, but not so much that they are fully distraction for us. Remember that. Don't laugh too much that you're distracted. Having the least amount of toxins in your body possible is the greatest defense. It's that simple. It's getting dark. Oh, I'm going home now. My work is done. Thank you for listening. If you want to add to, if you want to take away, please raise your voice in a respectful manner on my page, please, you guys. God bless. I love all of you. And I'm on my way home. Okay. I look forward to talking with you. All right. Bye-bye.